Hi everyone, I just wanted to give you a quick tutorial video for this daily assignment on the information processing model. So this comes from an old test of mine. So your instructions up here are to explain how the information processing model works, and you should use your own original example. So I'm going to go through an example with you. You can't use that example, you have to come up with your own. So I have the model already laid out for you, so all you have to do is fill in the blanks here on what's happening in each stage of the model. So for the information part, all you need to tell me is what your example is essentially. So we've went over this in class, and I believe I used the studying example, so we'll stick with that. So we're saying that our information is we're studying for a test. So the information would be your textbook, the words in your textbook. Okay, so it's as simple as that for information. You don't need to put too much there. Okay, so now what's happening in the sensory store, we've talked about, this is just you taking in the information. So for this one, you should tell me what senses are being used to take in this information. So for studying, if you're just reading the textbook, that would be, you could say something like using eyesight to read the information. You might add on just to clarify that it's visual. If your example has something to do with audio, you could talk about how you are using your ears and information. It could be a taste, a smell, anything with your senses. So just explain that here. And then you're going to want to add on that this information only lasts for a few seconds. The sensory story doesn't last very long. Okay, so now we're on to short-term memory and long-term memory. So if you remember, short-term memory lasts for about 30-40 seconds. If you do not do any kind of central executive work on that information, then it will leave short-term memory. If you do some kind of central executive work, that's when it goes to long-term memory. So really, you're just explaining that process. So I might write something like, right, so first part of it is if I just read the textbook, the information will likely leave my short-term memory after 30 seconds. So then we go to central executive. So you would explain how a study technique that will help that information get to long-term memory. So you would say something like, if I use flashcards to repeat the information and find ways to apply the information to my personal life, it will be stored in long-term memory. Okay, so then you go down to long-term memory. So again, just to repeat, for central executive, I wrote that if you use flashcards to repeat the information over and over, or you find ways to apply that information to your personal life, it's more likely to then be stored in your long-term memory. So with long-term memory, you could write, these are permanent memories. Try to keep it a little shorter this time so you can see everything. And then explain like when you sit down, when you take your test, you pull memories from long-term back to short-term or working memory. So a new line here so you can continue to see. And then you would be able to answer the questions. All right, so this is just, like I said, one example So depending on what example you come up with, your answers might look a little different, but this is essentially what I want. So you're going to go through each step and give me a little bit of information on what is happening in each step based on the example that you chose.